The US Secretary of State will host counterparts from Australia, India and Japan in under 2 hours for talks that will hope to return the focus to issues in the Indo-Pacific region. Marco Rubio, Australia's Penny Wong, India's Dr. S. Jaishankar and Japan's Takeshi Iwaya will have to address China's growing influence, the need for a US step-up in its defence and tensions over tariffs. The US Secretary of State will also hold one-on-one discussions. This is Marco Rubio's second Quad meeting since US President Donald Trump returned to office in January. And more, Nick Harper joins us live from Washington, D.C. Nick, what are the key sticking points heading into this second Quad meeting for Donald Trump's second time in office? What is Washington hoping to get out of these three friends and allies?
Well, we see plenty of frictions and tensions that Marco Rubio will be needing to try and get around. The problem is that multilateralism in Washington has been in short supply. Of course, Donald Trump has again pushed this America First agenda, all about making those unilateral decisions. And of course, the Quad grouping is really all about trying to work together. And that will be a problem because the one big issue for all of the three countries coming here to Washington is those tariffs. They will impact each of the countries, India, Japan, Australia. And of course, we're racing towards that July 9th deadline when the 90-day pause on tariffs runs out. And those big tariffs will come into effect for each of those three countries and all the other countries around the world. But then there's also country-specific problems that Marco Rubio will be needing to deal with. Over the last couple of days, on a couple of occasions, Donald Trump has railed against Japan, suggesting that he will keep high tariffs in place because Japan has been unable to come to any agreement over importing Japanese cars and also taking any US rice. And as a result, those tariffs may remain in effect for Tokyo. When it comes to Australia, Donald Trump has said that he wants to have a review of the AUKUS submarine pact that the US has with the UK, Australia, and that, of course, has worried officials in Australia. And then when it comes to India, the big issue has been Kashmir, because Donald Trump said that he was instrumental in achieving a peace deal between Pakistan and India. New Delhi has said that is not the case. So Marco Rubio needs to get over all of those issues. We're told that really he's trying to refocus the attention of Washington on the Indo-Pacific, because of late it's been really all about the Middle East, tensions between Israel and Iran. We're told Marco Rubio will also be looking to reaffirm the shared commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific and look ahead to a potential leaders summit in India later this year.
Oh, thanks for that, Nick. Stay with us, Nick. We'll need your input again in just a moment on Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. An update on that big, beautiful bill. And the voting session continues on this marathon voting session in the U.S. Senate, almost hitting the 24-hour mark as Republicans move to pass President Donald Trump's sweeping tax cut and spending bill. Dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill, lawmakers are racing against their self-imposed deadline. Now, this is the 4th of July to get it over that line. But Republicans have been facing pushback from both Democrats and within their own party. And the U.S. Senate chamber, you can see there in Washington, D.C., where voting continues. Nicknamed Votorama, the session provides unlimited amendments which must be voted on each time. There is no clear indication as to when the session will end or when the Senate will proceed to that final vote. Republicans cannot afford more than 3 defectors from their side, 2 already saying they will vote no, citing concerns about cuts to public health care and the swelling of the deficit by more than $3 trillion US dollars over a decade. The 940-page bill extends tax cuts that the president introduced in his first term and boosts spending for border security, defense, and energy. It will be funded in part by cuts to healthcare and nutrition programs. If passed, the bill will head back to the House to approve amendments before the president signs off on it. And Nick Harper joins us again. Nick in Washington, D.C. What's the progress of the voting session? How likely will the Republicans meet essentially a self-imposed deadline of the 4th of July, signing this bill?
Progress really, Wesu, has been slow. We're nearing that 24-hour mark. They started all of this at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. It's now 8:15 on Wednesday morning. The hope had been to try and get a final vote on the bill in the Senate at some point on Tuesday, or at least before dawn and on Wednesday. Dawn was several hours ago, and we are still seeing those amendments come forward. That all-night session for the vote-a-rama. Still plenty of contentious issues that really the Republicans have been unable to rally around, and there are potentially several defectors. Some of the key sticking points include the possibility of 12 million Americans losing health insurance, the fact that we will see vulnerable Americans hurt, potentially losing rural hospitals across the country, but also the potential of $3.3 trillion being added to the US debt. Now, the White House is saying that's not the case. Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary on Tuesday, said, or rather on Monday, said this was one of the fiscally conservative pieces of legislation in history, and it would produce a $4.1 trillion economic growth package for the country. As you mentioned, they can only lose a maximum of 3 Republicans to this. Already 2 have come out and say that they will vote against it, and 2 others are wavering. We're told that J.D. Vance, the vice president, has headed to Capitol Hill, potentially to cast a tie-breaking vote. If the Senate can get this through, it would be quite an incredible feat after several days of real problems on Capitol Hill. And then, of course, it needs to pass to the House. They need to vote on this again. They voted on a version a couple of weeks ago. They passed it quite easily. But this is a new version that the senators have crafted. The House would need to vote again. And, of course, there is that July 4th deadline that Donald Trump's pushing for. It's just a couple of days away. Wesu.
Oh, thanks for that. Nick Harper there reporting live from Washington, D.C.